The tax-free savings account is one of the greatest gifts given to Canadian savers and investors. But unfortunately, a lot of people don't know why or how to use it. And simply put, it's an account that can help you retire far earlier than you thought you could if you follow the right steps. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I'm using my TFSA right now in my 20s in a way that can make work completely optional by the time I'm in my 40s. And maybe if you follow this blueprint, you might just be able to do the same thing. Hey folks, if you are new here, my name is Aaron. I'm a certified financial planner, independent wealth advisor, and university instructor where I teach personal finance. And over the course of the past 7 years, I've helped hundreds of Canadians and students become the wealthiest versions of themselves. And I wholeheartedly believe that one of the key ingredients in being able to do that is understanding how to properly use the TFSA. And that's what we're going to do today. So for those of you who don't know what the tax-free savings account is, I'm going to keep it really simple. It's basically this account that you can put money in, invest it, have it grow, and then when you go and take the money out, you don't have to pay any tax on the withdrawals, and you also don't have to pay any tax on any income or growth that you achieved while the money was in the account. That sounds pretty awesome, but there are a couple of catches. Number one, any dollar amount that you put into this plan has to come from an income source or cash that you've already paid taxes on, so your paycheck. And number two, there's a maximum amount of money that you can put into this account in any given year. That's called the contribution room. And any contribution room that isn't used up in a year can carry forward indefinitely, so you can put the money into the account at that point in time when maybe you have some more money. Now, for the sake of what I'm going to walk you through, that's pretty much all you need to know. However, if you want to get more information on the TFSA, just go to the CRA website and type in TFSA. Or if you don't want to fall asleep, go to ChatGPT and just type in, explain to me what a TFSA is like I'm a 10-year-old. So I am a visual learner. So what I'm going to do is draw this out on the screen, and then I encourage you to follow along to see if this plan is going to work for you. So what I'm going to do here is draw a line that represents my life. At the beginning of the line, I'm going to put my current age being 29. And then at the end of the line, I'm going to put my age at life expectancy, which is going to be 85. For you, obviously, put your current age, and if you want to extend it out to 90 or 95, or maybe you want to pull it back to 75, do whatever you need to do. And let's just say my goal is to retire at 45 hypothetically. I'm going to come back to this later, but we're going to put that somewhere in the middle of the line, a little bit closer to the 29, because 45 is closer to the 29 than it is to 85. Next up, I'm going to write my current TFSA balance where it's at right now at 29. So as of today, based on everything that I've put into the account and all of the investment growth that I've achieved on the account since I was 18, which is the first year that I became eligible to open up a TFSA and contribute to the account, my current balance as of today is $119,250. Now, whether you have more than this or less than this, just put the amount that's currently in your TFSA at this beginning point in the line. Now, the first thing I need to do is figure out what my TFSA balance will be at the age of 45. Okay, assuming everything stays the same. So the two big pieces there are, number one, I continue to contribute the maximum amount, just like I have been since the age of 18, into the TFSA, and that being $7,000 per year as of the time of this recording. And I'm able to achieve the exact same average rate of return that I've achieved since I opened up my TFSA back in 2013. So since I've started, over the course of the past 11 years, I've been able to achieve an average rate of return of 12%. And I know you don't need me to tell you this, but past performance isn't necessarily an indicator of future performance. But as a financial advisor and as an investor, one of the best indicators that we have of what might happen in the future is looking at the past and seeing the patterns that we've experienced. So let's just say for illustrative purposes, I'm able to achieve this 12% continually from now until age 45, which I understand that itself is also a little unrealistic because sometimes we have big drops in the market, sometimes we have big surges in the market, right? But the idea is over the long term, it'll average out at this 12% that I've experienced on average so far. Now, one thing that we haven't accounted for yet that we need to is inflation. And that's just this central concept that your dollar is is not going to be able to buy the same amount of goods in the future as it is able to today, okay? It's going to devalue over time as more money is printed into circulation and the costs of goods rise, okay? So just like how a carton of eggs 15 years ago cost a certain amount of money, that same carton of eggs today costs way more than what it did 15 years ago, and that's going to continue into the future. And the easiest way for us to factor inflation into this entire plan here is to incorporate that loss in the rate of return. So if annual target inflation is about 2.5%, our actual inflation adjusted rate of return is not 12%, it's actually 9.5%. Now that we have all that information, this is where the fun happens, because now all you need to do is pull up an online investment calculator. I use the one on calculator.net and plug in these numbers. So if I have my starting amount being what I have in my TFSA today at $119,250, I've got 16 years from now until retirement. I have a return rate of 9.5%, and this factors in that 2.5% target inflation. We compound it annually, and then the additional contribution is going to be $7,000 because that's what I'm going to do to max out my TFSA every single year from now until retirement. And then if we contribute that at the beginning of each year, and if we hit calculate, we have an ending balance of $773,424. That sounds pretty sick. So if I fast forward and if I'm retired at 45, assuming everything stayed the same and I kept doing what I was doing, this is currently at 45 what I have in my TFSA account. So now I need to figure out how much money my TFSA is going to pay me every single year if I get paid monthly out of that account. And now we move to the second portion of the line. So remember, because I'm retired, I'm no longer going to be able to contribute money to this plan. Instead, I'm going to be taking money out almost like an income every single month. And that amount of income is what I need to figure out. So what we're going to do is jump back into the calculator. Now, using the same calculator, but a different tab, I want to go to the additional contribution. Okay. Now my target is going to be $0 because hopefully when I'm 85 and I kick the can, I'm going to have $0 in this account. Now my starting amount, that's the amount that I calculated on the first part of the line there. I calculated at 45, my TFSA balance would be $773,000. And that's what I'm going to put in my starting amount. And then between age 45 and 85, I have 40 years. So that's how long I need this money to last. Now, just a caveat, outside of the money that I'm taking out every single month, okay, all the rest of the money is going to stay in the TFSA. And that TFSA, remember, it's still growing every single year. However, since I'm retired now, I'm probably going to want to take a little bit less risk. So instead of this, 9.5 inflation adjusted rate of return, I'm probably going to pull it back to a safer portfolio that won't necessarily yield as good of a return. So what I'm going to do is pull back my 9.5% to a 7%. Now it's still compounded annually, and I'm going to be taking money out of the beginning of every single month. And if I hit calculate, the total amount of income that this is going to spit out is going to be $4,659.64. Now, I know this is a very simple example, but what I wanted to do was illustrate the value of the TFSA and using it in the right way over the long term. But there's a couple of assumptions and caveats that it's important to know, especially if you plan to use this same blueprint for yourself. So number one is the fact that I'm using this and I have no other savings, which is also a little bit unrealistic, So having the TFSA is something that bolsters the rest of your portfolio, makes retirement even better than this, $4,600. On top of that, at age 60 or at age 65, you're also going to get a government benefit payout, whether it's CPP or OAS, and that's also going to be able to provide you with retirement income. Number two is the rate of return. I can see a bunch of people in the comments, you might be watching this and you might say, that's way too aggressive. The 12%, 9.5%, 7%, it's way too aggressive for what could be realistic. But like I said, that's just basically what I've experienced in the TFSA over the course of the past 11 years, and 12% is really great. But even if I pull the rates of return back at least a couple of percent and I use a pre-retirement rate of return of 7.5% and a post-retirement rate of return a little less risky at 5.5%, I'm still looking at a monthly tax-free retirement income of just over $3,000, which obviously is less, but like I said in my first assumption, it might be a great addition to the other parts of my plan over the long term, being my RRSPs. If I have a pension, I've got government benefits. The third assumption is my timeline. So in reality, I probably won't retire at 45. I love what I do, and I probably keep doing it well past 45. And you may be the same, but in my opinion, retirement is not about making work obsolete. It's about making work optional. So I may choose at 45 to take money out of the TFSA, work a little bit here and there, teach, make videos like this, but the idea is that I won't have to work. And the fourth important assumption to think about is this idea of time horizon. You may have been following along and, maybe you ran these calculations for yourself and you might be thinking this all just seems too good to be true. And from the outset, it kind of seems like that. But the main reason why that is, the main reason why this is all able to work like this, it's because of this idea known as compounding. Now, I'm not going to get into the details of that, but basically it's this concept where a combination of our saving and investing and waiting over time, we're able to build this amazing engine that's going to pay you continually every single month in the future. And having this engine inside of the TFSA, all of that payment is going to be completely tax-free in the future. Now, if we think about that, and if we attach this idea of compounding, and if we think about what makes compounding even better and bigger, it's not, your savings rate, it's not how much money you make now, and it's not even your rate of return. It's not even the amount of money that your investments can earn. But single-handedly, the most important impact on compounding is time. It's letting this bucket of cash grow for longer and longer. So to illustrate that to you, let's just say instead of 45, I retired at the age of 50, just waited another 5 years. My calculated retirement income that would come from my TFSA account every single month would be over $7,600. And all of that would be completely tax-free. Simply just by waiting another 5 years, I'm able to increase my retirement income by over $3,000. So that being said, I hope you got a better understanding of the magic that the TFSA can provide you in your own personal financial plan. I hope you followed along and saw some pretty great numbers as well. And if you want some more actionable, insightful tips to building wealth as a Canadian, I encourage you to subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.